Fiddler on the Roof. Sounds crazy, no? But in our live mix studio here at WERS, I have the Reagle Music Theater's cast of Fiddler on the Roof here live, ready to perform for you. They need no introduction. So we're going to get right into something I need very much in my life, a matchmaker. This is Matchmaker, Make Me a Match. Reagle Music Theater, Fiddler on the Roof. Take it away, ladies.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. Matchmaker, matchmaker, look through your book and make me a perfect match. Matchmaker, matchmaker, I'll bring the veil. You bring the groom, slender and pale. Bring me a ring, for I'm longing to be the envy of all I see. For Papa, make him a scholar. For Mama, make him rich as a king. For me, well, I wouldn't holler if he were as handsome as anything. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. Night after night in the dark I'm alone, so find me a match of my own. Since when are you interested in a match, Chava? I thought you just had your eye on your books. And you have your eye on the rabbi's son. Why not? We only have one rabbi and he only has one son. Why shouldn't I want the best? Because you're a girl from a poor family. So whatever Yenta brings, you'll take, right? Of course, right. Hoddle, oh Hoddle, have I made a match for you? He's handsome, he's young. All right, he's 62, but he's a nice man, a good catch. True? True. I promise you'll be happy, and even if you're not, there's more to life than that. Don't ask me what. Hava, I found him. Will you be a lucky bride? He's handsome, he's tall, and he's from side to side, but he's a nice man, a good catch, right? Right. You heard he has a temper. He'll beat you every night, but only when he's sober. So you're all right. Did you think you'd get a prince? Well, I do the best I can. With no dowry, no money, no family background. Be glad you got a man. Matchmaker, matchmaker, you know that I'm still very young. Please take your time. Up to this minute, I misunderstood that I could get stuck for good. Dear Yenta, see that he's gentle. Remember, you were also a bride. It's not that I'm sentimental. It's just that I'm terrified. Matchmaker, matchmaker, plan me no plans. I'm in no rush. Maybe I've learned playing with matches, a girl can get burned. So bring me no ring, groom me no groom, find me no find, catch me no catch, unless he's a matchless match.
88.9 WERS, the Reagle Music Theater, live in studio with their production of Fiddler on the Roof today. Thank you so much again for coming in.
Thank you.
It's really nice to have you. Fiddler on the Roof, as listeners might know, is one of my favorite shows. And I have in studio with me today Alexa Leversfeld as Chava, Jillian Gordon as Huddle, and Nora Fox as Seidel, as well as Scott Wally as Tevye. Thanks again for coming in. And I just, for anybody who might be uninitiated, do you guys want to talk on what this show is about?
Is that me? Okay.
Scott Wally.
Well, Fiddler on the Roof tells the story of a poor Russian family on the eve of the Russian Revolution in 1905. And it's really a story about the strength of the human spirit and our ability to cope with change, and ultimately to endure. And it touches on so many universal themes of family, faith, tradition, the generation gap.
Of course.
It's Tevye is a Jewish Russian family, Tevye's family, but he's really every man, and his family is like all of us.
That's right, and in that spirit, I know the next song that you're going to be singing is If I Were a Rich Man. And if I were a rich man, my name would not be Johnny Q. But Dan Rodriguez is on the piano, so without further ado, here's Scott Wally, If I Were a Rich Man, Fiddler on the Roof, 88.9.
Dear God, you made many, many poor people. I realize, of course, it's no shame to be poor, but it's no great honor either. So what would have been so terrible if I had a small fortune? If I were a rich man, idle, deedle, idle, digga-digga-digga-digga-dum. All day long I'd biddy-biddy-bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Idle, deedle, idle, digga-digga-digga-digga-dum. If I were a bitty rich, idle deedle diddle man, I'd build a big tall house with rooms by the dozen right in the middle of the town. A fine tin roof with real wooden floors below. There would be one long staircase just going up and one even longer coming down. And one more leading nowhere, just for show. I'd fill my yard with chicks and turkeys and geese and ducks for the town to see and hear, squawking just as noisily as they can. And each loud would land like a trumpet on the air, as if to say, here lives a wealthy man. If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy-biddy-bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. If I were a bitty rich, idle man, I see my wife, my Golder, looking like a rich man's wife with a proper double chin, supervising meals to her heart's delight. I see her putting on airs and strutting like a peacock. Aye, what a happy mood she's in, screaming at the servants day and night. The most important men in town would come to fawn on me, and they would ask me to advise them, like Solomon the Wise. If you please, Reb Tevye, pardon me, Reb Tevye, posing problems that would cross a rabbi's eyes. Boy, 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 boy. And it wouldn't make one bit of difference if I answer right or wrong. When you're rich, they think you really know. If I were rich, I'd have the time that I lack to sit in the synagogue and pray, and maybe have a seat by the eastern wall. And I'd discuss the holy books with the learned men 7 hours every day. That would be the sweetest thing of all. If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy-biddy-bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Lord, whom made the lion and the lamb. You decreed I should be what I am. Would it spoil some vast eternal plan if I were a wealthy man?
Scott Wally as Reb Tevye here, 88.9 WERS, live in studio with the Reagle Music Theater's cast of Fiddler on the Roof. And Scott, you were actually just talking a little earlier about the various themes that we find in this show, and not to mention the historical aspect of it, with considering the Russian Revolution, and not just in the political sphere, but also just in Jewish culture. And for everybody, do you find yourselves looking into doing any sort of research on all of that to help develop your characters, or just get a better understanding of what's going on in this story?
Well, I first did this role 10 years ago for Reagle, and in preparation for playing Tevye, I read Shalom Aleicham's Tevye stories cover to cover.
Wow.
And took notes like a college student, and really, that was the source material for the musical. And I spent a lot of time on the phone with a rabbi who explained to me the Jewish traditions and what his sensibility was in terms of how he saw a Russian family at this time. I mean, Fiddler on the Roof is in some ways a very, very sad story.
Absolutely.
And it ends with the end of the show. It's not like 40 dancing girls and the big finish. It ends with it's a simple violin solo. As Tevye leaves Anatevka with his family, and so it's really a testament to the brilliance of the show that you could have so much weight and so many weighty issues surrounding this play, and yet have the wonderful exuberance and humanity of this thing, and the humor.
Right.
They talk about the Jewish culture laughing through the tears, and that's really what this village does and these villagers do in Fiddler on the Roof.
What's it like revisiting this role after 10 years?
Well, our run is short. At Reagle, we only do 8 or 9 performances, and so there's only so much you can do, and it's the kind of role that you'd love to just settle into and do it for a year, because there's something new that you can find every single day. So I am delighted to be able to take another bite out of the apple 10 years later, because just try to mine some more things and find some more moments and spend some more time with this wonderful character. It's one of the best parts ever written for an actor in the musical theater history. So I'm really honored to play this role.
I'd agree, and going off of those rather tragic themes that you were touching on earlier, the last song we're going to hear from the Reagle Music Theater today is Far From the Home I Love. So here it is, 88.9 WERS.
No.
Why won't you tell me where he is now, this Moses of yours?
It is far, Papa. Terribly far. He's in a settlement in Siberia.
Siberia? And he asked you to leave your mother and father and join him there in that frozen wasteland and marry him there?
He did not ask me to go. I want to go. I don't want him to be alone. I want to help him in his work. It is the greatest work a man can do, Papa.
But Huddle, baby.
Papa, how can I hope to make you understand why I do what I do? Why I must travel to a distant land, far from the home I love. Once I was happily content to be as I was, where I was, close to the people who are close to me, here in the home I love. Who could see that a man would come who would change the shape of my dreams? Helpless now I stand with him, watching older dreams grow dim. Oh, what a melancholy choice this is, wanting home, wanting him, closing my heart to every hope but his. might be wandering so far from the home I love, yet there with my love I'm home.
Reagle Music Theater live in studio with us today. That concludes the in-studio performance from their production of Fiddler on the Roof. And I want to thank you all again for coming in. It's been great.
Thank you.
And
Thanks to Dan Rodriguez for playing.
thank you to Dan Rodriguez on the piano, who has been in studio with us countless amounts of times. It's great to have you back, Dan. The Fiddler on the Roof runs at the Reagle Music Theater in Waltham, July 11th through the 21st, and tickets can be found at reglemusictheater.org. And in the spirit of Jewish tradition, I'd like to commit a mitzvah or an act of kindness now. I actually have two tickets to give away right now for the fourth caller at 617-824-8890. And so call right now, and you'll be the fourth caller right now at that number, and you'll win. But remember, this is only if you haven't won anything from WERS in the past 30 days. So, yeah, good luck. And coming up next, it's more of the best of Broadway and beyond.